We're in it? All right. Good afternoon. My name is Clifford Mahooty. For some of you that don't know me, I'm a Zuni Pueblo Indian from New Mexico, a president leader in Camp Verde, Arizona. I've been talking about our people that are for about 10 years. I used to be an engineer. I used to be a scientist, but now I'm a human being, and so. Today I want to start out like a storyteller. I don't have any that. I don't have a 5-year-old. I've been a fifth grader in my house, so I don't know how to use computers. So I'm just gonna talk like that old storyteller. One of the stories that I've told in many circles with American Indians that stopped seeking parable. In the parable, the Creator gathered all the animals and said, I want to hide some things from the humans until they are ready for it. That thing was a realization that they create their own reality. That the eagle says, I'll take it to the moon and I'll bury it on the dark side. And said, no, I'll go there and find it. He said, no, he said, mankind will also find it there. So they went to the salmon and said, I'll take it down to the bottom of the ocean and they will never find it there. And said, oh yes, they'll find it there too. And so the buffalo says, I'll take it to the great plain and I'll bury it. He said, no, they'll also find it there too. So big time grandmother Mo was sitting there listening to all of that. And then she said, put it inside of them. Sent her with the wise grandmother. And dumb, says the Creator, that's the last place they will look. That's what they are all about. As human beings, we have always thought that we can go and look for something else. Look how many books we read. Look how many people's experiences that we have had. And the sad part of it is that in my own situation, I'm 77 Earth years. And I did not realize that my very teachings of my spirituality was that it was too simple. It was too boring in a way. So I said, I was up my reservation in India. I was born when during the Second World War, we didn't have any electricity. We didn't have any television, much less television. No telephones. And all these years, for centuries, thousands of years, my ancestors were passing on the information. And I did not realize how advanced it was until we went into the science world. I'm a scientist, I'm a mathematician, I'm an engineer, and all these years, and I was going, why would I need to listen to the whole stories when I have an opportunity to learn something new? I did not realize that after I got the white man's education, they compared to the knowledge that my ancestors had accumulated since time immemorial, as the Indians would say. They were very, very advanced in what the white man's science that I had learned up to a certain point. Because this is a realization of what you really call awakening. We're talking about awakening in a way that unless you have really lived on both sides of this, or what as the Indians would say, I walked in other people's moccasins to know that what really is very important. And my topic for today is, I just noticed on the schedule, I just happened to walk out there to see what was going on. I said, hey, he said, my topic today is the secrets of the ancestors. The secrets of the ancestors is the truth. Can you imagine that? Because we have deviated from truth for so long that are now at a stage, and I have studied on both sides. I have studied people like Nostradamus. I have studied people like Georgia Santana, the one that said that people that don't know their history are going to repeat it. And I have read some of the best the philosophers of the world, including the original hippie. And the original hippie's name was Henry David Thoreau. And so I have studied all these things, and there is a common bond between every one of us, is that we had that everything to operate as pieces of the puzzle. Now it is my turn to pass the information that I have accumulated to the younger generations that have been coming and will be here. The latest group are the Rainbow Children. I remember that when they called in the blues way back in the 50s, and the power of them were the Indigos, the Crystals, and I worked with just about every group. It doesn't make any difference what color you are, what culture they're from, but they bring in the pieces of the puzzle. The only thing that has inhibited the growth of that is the human being. We're going through that right now with another false flag operation called COVID. And I started studying the prophecy and the false flag operations when I was in college as a freshman. And it was called the Kennedy assassination. I have studied in detail because of my background in everything that has happened, including the Second World War, Korea, the Kennedy assassination, the Apollo 11, that's also another false operation, the 9/11. The reason that I know a detail about 9/11 was before we have heard our priesthood of my tribe were told by the star people what was going to happen. My grandfathers, right during the Second World War time, they were told what was going to happen. And the other one that I'm very familiar with is the Challenger. So we have a direct connection with star people. And the reason that the rest of the world did not have that is because of all the false things that have been created by mankind. The biggest one is the Vatican. These are the ones that were here back in the 1500s. In the 1500s, did you hear about the Chapo culture, the Mesa Verde in the Colorado, and the invasion not only of the white man, but of our people that came through Siberia? That was the time that the Space Brothers left, and they became invisible, and we became the participants of what they used to be here. There's a lot of disinformation about, for example, like Chapo County. The Great Kiva, we did not have Kivas until after 1700s. The Great Kiva and the Chapo Canyon is a landing port. And there's a parallel to it in Star Wars. It's called the Fleetwood Academy. The Fleet, what's the Kiva? The Great Kiva Chaco is related in the Chabdahan culture.
I'm not familiar with Charlie Kiva.
Oh,
I'm not familiar with Charlie Kiva.
Kiva was an invention by archaeologists and anthropologists in the 1800s. That's a circular room that had a lot of niches in there, and there's also a generator stations that were involved in it. That's the term that they use for sacred and secret chambers that's used in anthropology and archaeology. Okay? And if you look at the word in there, it was invented in the 1800s by the Smithsonian. So I have studied this to that in many, many ways, and I believe now that there are other people that had the knowledge that have gone on. Of my ancestors in the great American Indian tribes, there were millions of people in the northern, right after the Ice Age. What they call now the Colorado Basin. It's in Colorado, Utah, Nevada. And if you study world history, there was two civilizations before that, which were the Lemurian people and the Atlantean people, and no Indian tribe ever came from any other star system. They were here, they were upgraded. That other one is just another, I guess, dream operation that a lot of people had created, especially people like the one that said that she was part Cherokee, the senator from Massachusetts. You know about sport, baseball. So anyway, I have studied a lot of these things, not in written any book. We're talking about I talked to a lot of people called downloads. I had met time travelers in my life, and the reason I'm talking right now is because that I was not allowed to talk about these things when I was still until about 10 years ago. And there are things that are going to happen real soon because we're at the end of an epoch that's prophesied by the Hopi, Zuni, and other native groups, the Aboriginal tribes. Look what they're doing to the ones in Australia. Look what they did to the ones that were in the United States. And so, one of the things that kind of was chuckled about was two things. The American Indian, as a group, do not care what they call them. For example, they changed the name of the Washington Redskins, no longer. And then under Trump, what they had the census the first group was the Afro-Americans, the Chinese Americans, the which are the Asian Americans, and on the bottom of the list was a group called something else. I am a member of the something else. And you'd imagine that that's legal, that is law. And I also tell everybody I'm the first prototype of the AI. The AI stands not for artificial intelligence, but for American India. I have really studied that. If you study something and not having fun with it, then why should you study anything? Because I have had a lot of fun with science. I've had a lot of fun, math, and especially the social sciences. We are now going through a race theory, critical race theory. And these are the people that are the divide and conquer world. Within 4 years, if this country does not turn around, we're doomed. I'm not saying this from my own chair that I'm sitting in there, I have studied very, very ancient history of why we're going to fail. Because of that truth that we do not no longer have. Everything is a fake. If you look at back in, and I started this back in, I graduated from engineering school in 1969, and I used to say at meetings, 2 days before man supposedly landed on the moon. It was on the Friday, they landed on Sunday, Apollo 11, and we did not have the technology. We did not have the equipment. We were talking about what Raul was talking about a model and the pro. This is the first time ever in a technological history we went from a plan which nobody saw except politicians, and we created a prototype called Apollo 11, went to the moon, and there was not even one glitch, one mistake in the first thing that were taken off of a drone.
They just did it again with Operation Warp Speed?
Huh? The thing about it is, this is applied science. Okay. In all calculus, some of you are mathematicians. It took me a long time being full of calculus equations, whether it's integral or differential calculus. The when you're taking mathematics, they'll tell you, and don't forget a constant. This whole big equation in calculus. And if you do not put on there plus C on the end of your equation, it's not going to work. You know what my theory is about what C stands for? That's the God factor. Now, it's really weird where I'm coming from, but I have been told that by downloads and dreams of what has happened. It's like the Mobius strip. It never ends. And so some of us have lived thousands of lifetimes before. The Earth, this is according to the American scientific organizations, this is the 13th time that the Earth has reversed its axis. In the Hopi and the Zuni, this is the fourth world that's coming to the close. The third world was the one that was taken care of. I mean, the humans were upgraded and taken care of by the ant people and the crane necklace people in Nepal. So there's a lot of parallels of a lot of these connections. And unless you go into this whole study of things, and you will never understand what I'm talking about. This is why the education is starting to be destroyed in 1970. It started out with what they call the new math. The people that were born in the 60s, that went from 1963 to 1965, are the dummies of the world, not because they were designed at that. Now, the reason that I know that is because the new math was put aside during the Great Depression by two mathematicians. And he was brought up again primarily for monetary gain with the kids in what they call head start. The most extensive war that the United States got into, and we're still paying to this day, is not World War II, not Korea, not Vietnam. It's called the War on Poverty. That has costed trillions of dollars. That's when the dumbing of America started. The dumbing of America started after I left college. And if you want to know the basis for the new path, you go back and you study all the way up to calculus, you go past ring theory, and then you go into mathematics called set theory. This is a PhD level mathematics that are taught by top-notch mathematicians, mostly peers, and they were teaching head start kids in the 1960s. So that's why they had no clue as to how to do any math whatsoever. This was the start of the deterioration of the education of America. We are now 47th in the world in mathematics. 47. It is a damn shame because we gave away all our technology to our enemies. We're still doing that right now. And so when you study all these things, not from books, not from other people, but when you directly talk about the truth. Remember that line in A Few Good Men? We can't handle the truth. A lot of us cannot handle the truth, so we avoid it. My lectures, in a lot of cases, I do national lectures, and I tell them that you people know more about the Kardashians that you know about the history of the United States of America, because that's part of the dumbing down process. So a lot of these things that are what we are doing right now is we're on a doomsday trick, and there's a lot of stories that were written about it in the futuristic at that time science. Remember when they said the truth is stranger than science? I mean, that type of approach. And then the other thing too is that we are now two groups. Right now, the elite and the poorest. There's no in between anymore. So this next 2-3 years from now is going to determine the future of the United States of America, not only here, but also the rest of the world. Because we are now at the level of we got to get our act together, and we got to not lay around anymore. And this is exactly the same plan that they had done with giving everybody a check. People will not go to work. I've seen it firsthand. Firsthand, in their reservations, were the first group of people that became so welfare independent that they dumbed down with people first. The reason is that in their reservations were removed, and then after they dumped them out there in the middle of nowhere, worthless land, they found gold, rare earth metals, uranium, they call oil, coal, others. So it's not gonna stop. So this is my purpose in explaining it in a simple way. You better wake up. And not only that you wake up, you have to do something about it. Because a lot of people are saying, well, I'm awake. So, what are you doing now that you're awake? Well, I'm just kind of waiting and saying, no. You have to make something happen, which is from you. In the old days, we used to look for leaders. There are no leaders in the United States of America. If you look at the engineering term, mechanical engineer, we're at maximum entropy. Energy is flowing in all directions, and there's no concentration. That's why the lasers and masers were made to concentrate energy. So you take a beam of light, and that's the way they cut metal nowadays. Because one beam of light can cut through impenetrable things. And that's what we use to focus. Because when I was taking hard sciences, I did not realize that the human being is also a machine of God. So, and then I go into other details, which are where we're not, we have to go through an evolutionary process in this next step, and it's not artificial intelligence. It has to go back to the spirituality. There's two things about spirituality. They confuse it. Spirituality and religion are confused back and forth, and they use that for airborne purpose. Religion is an invention by man for three basic reasons. The same thing the lecturers about. Fear and show in beauty has absolutely nothing to do with spirituality. It's all about control. And that's what a Vatican is called worst organization, worse than any monster that ever existed a long time. I'm not anti-religious. I don't care about that. I'm saying that what I know to be true, which is what they're looking for, is the truth. This country was the first people that were destroyed were by the religious groups. Mexico killed millions under God, God ruling the glory. And now in the United States of America, on the West Coast were the Franciscans. On the East Coast were the Jesuits. And they fought from both sides. And with the help of the invading colonies, which was Europeans, and with the help of the United States cavalry, did you know that there in Vietnam, they'd send all the Indian kids to the Seventh Cat? The Seventh Cat was George A. Custer, which was even the term, the only good Indian is a dead Indian. I wrote my military strategy paper on George A. Custer. And they put all the minority kids in the Seventh Cat. Instead of horses, they had Hueys, helicopters. And they were the front guys, and we used to call it German removal, because those are the guys that be choppers. So these are the historical facts. This is the truth. Now, I had worked in many, many organizations. I started out with private industry in 1970s. Some of you weren't even born. They had another Volkswagen operation called gas shortage. I was probably the first American full-blooded Indian that worked for Royal Dutch Shell, which is Shell Corporation. My job, because we had chemical engineers, petroleum engineer. I'm a civil engineer, I'm a structural engineer. And I also take care of wood products. All the stuff that comes off a refiner. It was my job to get rid of all the toxins, all the waste products. And since I was the lowest man on the scale of all the technical people, my job was to burn gasoline, and I had to burn 1 million gallons of gas turbine per day in one of Shell Oil's 9 refiners in the United States. I walked out of that job, I was making twice as much money as with the guys that I went to college with, because I got sick. Because I cannot handle something that's not true. And we recycled everything on Indian reservation, which you cite where, why am I burning Mother Earth in front of everybody and I'm getting good pay for it? I walk away from it. This is where I made my mistake. I should have stayed there. And today I would have about 7 Rolls Royces. I would have had my own jet. I would have, Bitcoins. Right. Hyper than that. So, going back to that earth and handover truth. So this is what's happening in this country. So it's up to you now that you guys are awake. What the hell are you going to do? And then the next thing is that, what the hell are you getting scared of? Are you scared because you can no longer now belong to the deep group? You can't have your own airplane. We got scared of, but everybody else don't steal it from the way. The federal law legal system is going against you right now. So you got to figure out, that's going back to the basics. Stand up for yourself, and don't try to depend on anybody. You got to do it yourself. I had done many, many times. Why? What you guys there? I have walked away from jobs. I had quit work. I was even an officer in the military. When I used to call it, they were to court martial me. I say, go right ahead, because I'm going to tell the truth about you, Pastor. And they gave me an honorable discharge because they don't want to deal with somebody that can talk the truth. This latest guy he was a colonel, he made one mistake. He should have resigned his commission and then talk about it, and he would have been the hero, but he was still, you're in the service, you're part of, that's why they call them GIs. And having the rights. You're like a Jeep, you're like a rifle, and you're not a human being. So these are the things that I teach about how to stand for your rights. So anyway, you guys are awake now. What the hell are you going to do? Because all you need is one. You can do it by yourself, and you can continue because somebody will say, I'm going to go over there and help this guy out. It takes a long time because when you guys have been asleep for a long time, it takes a hard time to wake up. And then you want to let go of your positions. Why do you eat all that crap? As you get older, I had 3 cars. What the hell? I can't drive 3 cars at the same time. And I tried to build 3 wives, what they let me. Well, there was 2 expensive. Anyway, so that's who I am. I talk your truth. Maybe I'm not sophisticated, but who needs sophistication? We're here in dire straits. So that's what I'm all about. And you can go to my website. It's called nativewisdomacademy.net, and I talk the truth. I don't care what they do to me. I don't care what they say about me, but as long as it's the truth, I have yet to be, and I have a carry-out factor. Agreeing. If you find anything about my lectures, my stuff, anything, and you find out that I am wrong, prove to me the unreasonable doubt that I'm wrong, and I will write you a letter saying that I was wrong. I go one step further. I'll have it notarized saying that I was wrong. And so far, I have that undertakers. So if you're that committed, you have to be in 100%. It's not 99.9, you have to be in there 100%. So that's what it is. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Clifford, I wanted to tell the audience about the time you were talking at Robert Kokota's. And usually you were very mild-mannered. But then in that instant, you said with a charge, you said, we did come from the Muria. And in that exact instant, In this, through his glass windows, we can see 6 spikes of lightning striking the Milky Age. So, how mild-mannered you are, but you're very focused and you have great wisdom. I want to thank you for coming here and saying these things.
We go through a lot of stages. We have four orders of, I guess, tenacity, you want to say that, or strongness or whatever. When you're dealing with the dark force people, you would have to go against the dark force people. I can tell you exactly right now that the dark force people, the reason they put a barbed wire fence around the Capitol of the United States is not to keep the public out, but for them to do their witches' brew without anybody interfering in their operations. So these are my experiences. I don't make things up, but you have to become stronger because that's the intensity that we go through, even as medicine men people. We hear so much about that thing about the skinwalker. It's going to get worse. Not only there, but other places. This will be the next ones that will get attacked. Sedona will be attacked that soon. And they're already here. We can call them nocturians, we can call them witchcraft practitioners, but it's done by, why do you think that they're paying $450,000 a head of those people that are coming to the border? It's not because they feel for compassion, no. Because they need their negative energy to increase their effectiveness. And the people that are in power right now they're not in power, they're controlling the whole system and the like. So they're being used as these puppets. And since I was 23 years old, I've been working out of Washington, D.C., and yet it is a swamp. I had to come over here and do my own cleansing because of the attachments and all the things that you accumulate when you're there. But you go back and read a guy by the name of John D'Souza. He was with the FBI. And Dee and I, we got together the first time we ever met. He was with the FBI and I was with many, many different organizations in Washington. I knew about 9/11 before. I used to go to the Pentagon. And they had it prepared 6 months in advance of what they were going to do, and it was all reinforced. And so I got that on my website. So these are and so far I think that they're attacking me, but never going because they cannot handle it. But I'm going to warn you right now. This witchcraft and killing is at a very an extreme logarithmic rate at this time. And so the country, you read Tolstoy and people like him, if you look at some of the greatest empires in the world, the Roman Empire, all the different Chinese dynasties that went through there, the Kublai Khan and the Mongolia, all those civilizations failed not because of their loss of technology, because of their human element called dark forces. And Israel, this country did not accept it for contact. And there are so many groups right now. The cults are now working with each other. This is the first time we were in the history where I have studied that all the cults are now becoming a multi-force type of pose because they want to get regulations. Because that's what happened to our solar system. Look at Mars. The same thing happened in Mars, what they did, we're just calling the same rule. Where do I get this information? Because they've done it. We talk about the Egypt. Mali step has passed on because nobody talks about it. Nobody wants to talk. So this is what you have to be alert. You gotta open your mind up and you gotta open your heart up and all that. So that's where it's at. So that's all I got to say at this time, unless you people, I don't know about the time, but what does that mean?
You got 10 minutes if you want.
Okay, any questions? Matt?
I got a question. Did you ever hear about that, in the Grand Canyon in 1909, those explorers who discovered that place in Biggs?
You're the white that put that together?
Yeah, that the Smithsonian said, no, you can't explore there.
Well, with the king, you thought, 5 minutes?
No, I could tell you about that because we found it. Our team went to the Grand Canyon. There are 17 of us called the Inner Circle in Phoenix. We went to the Grand Canyon. We discerned Kincaid's Cave. I was standing right over the top of Kincaid's Cave's entrance. There was a round, cleared area where they brought the crane, mounted it, brought all that stuff out of the canyon, put the stuff in the railroad cars. They brought railroad tracks from Flagstaff to the canyon, brought this train in, scooped all the stuff out, left, pulled the railroad track. We found water cans, we found railroad pins, we found all of it. And while we were there, Carla, she'll testify, while we were there, an invisible helicopter came up out of the canyon. All of us were spread out over about 3 acres, and we're hearing wop, 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 really loud. We're all looking right at the angle of where the sound is, and there was nothing to see. Back to you.
Yes. We have 2 presentations on YouTube. It's called Expedition to Sea-Top. The first one we did a year later, we brought in drones. And the same thing that happened to us on the Smithsonian when we went and asked them. And we found a list of people in the archives that were part of the financiers or actually benefited from that. And there were very, very high org positions such as judges back in the 1900s. And that's the same thing, same answer was given us. Well, what happened to that solid gold statue of the Buddha? And they say that they dumped it in the ocean, and that's the same time that they said that they dumped Osama bin Laden's body in the ocean. And Osama bin Laden had been dead for 3 years. So you look at it, it's on YouTube. That technology? See, this is the sad thing about electronics.
Yeah, do you have information about the tunnels underneath Los Angeles that's connected to reptilians?
New Mexico who?
They're connected, like reptilians live down in these tunnels. This goes back even back to the 1800s.
Well, there were a lot of them. I think one of them, I think they use that for, what do they call that? Jump point that goes to Australia in 5 milliseconds or something like that.
Oh, man.
There's so many of them. Okay, now, what has happened in the way before is that we have history of tunnel systems that were already in existence way before the American Indian became you were there or in the evolutionary scale. And this is what I do a lot of presentation on, what we call the R.I.P. They were the advanced species that upgraded the humans here. See, the humans we don't follow the Darwinian theory because they were upgraded at certain times. We're going through that right now with the Star Trek, okay? And those are the ones that are very, but there's so many things because a lot of them are Indian in our own terminology. vernacular. For example, I didn't know anything about the names of our constellations in Zuni until I became a medicine man. But I knew them as, the Ursa Major or Orion's Belt or, the seven, which is Pleiades. And so they would, when I was going my training, they used to call me little white boy. He said, little white boy. He said, that's Orion's Belt. I said, I know what Orion's Belt is, but in my language, because it's sacred knowledge. The way that they explain it is the one that is lined up, and each civilization has their particulars about what constellations that they were. It's sort of like a medical chart. It says, the surgeons came from these constellations, the shrinks came from this constellation. And that further expanded here when I started this with the Rekiva and in the Chaco culture. That used to be what, if you look at Star Wars, I think it's called Starfleet Academy. That used to be the original contact point for the center for the healing arts. That's where the Indians were taught about all the different plant derivatives for those diseases, the bone settings, the fixing the bone, childbirth, and all the different things about surgery. And the surgeons moved down to Mexico. So they had these road systems. And if you look at the history, flint tools are sharper than any instrument that is made today for surgery. The flint blades are finer and a lot better, and they're more sterile than any steel instrument that's ever made. That's one thing that you're taught as a medicine man. So they used to use that, out in the Asian countries, they use pins and needles for acupuncture. Here they used to use flint. And I saw the last of the flint therapy when I was a little kid. And those things are gone. Because when the Rockefellers were the one that got rid of all the different systems and put in big pharma during the Second World War, when I.B. Fargan and the Germans went over that, made massive amounts of synthetics. Before that, you could cure yourself with anything. There's a tree out there, it's called a juniper tree. There's many properties in there that as a medicine man, it's also had birth control inside the leaves of that. That's why if you went to my generation of Indian kids in my village, each one of them were at least 2 years apart because they drank this right after the mommy had a baby. They would make that tea, they drink it, and it was a birth control. Not only was that, but it also cleaned out your internal system. So there's a lot of plants that we still have that can still do that. That's what they're afraid of. We went back to that big farm where go out and no more doctors, no more dentists. So this is why we're going through this massive progressive medicine. You have to take this pill and then you get used to it and it keeps continuing. It's like going to the casino where the wheel keeps turning now. It never ends. It's progressive. So there's a lot of things that all this worthless knowledge that I've learned. But it's very important for all of us. So check my website out. I taught directly with this. I have a lot of people that check out the sciences. I also work with another guy that he's a Migama Indian. He's a keeper. He's the last keeper of his tribe who hold the copper scrolls. they're not scrolls, they're plates. And then also, we also know that the original, the old seamen from long time ago, you know, that seafaring the vessels, the whole system is set up by a coordinate system that was called Virgo. I mean, not Virgo, Virgo. And now it's the North Star. The North Star is the Cartesian coordinate system. This is the work that stuff you learned in mathematics. You know? And so the next one, we're going to go into, now that we're going into an advanced system for navigation control, and there's another star that will all be coming on that will be less than another 10 billion years. So it's constantly changing. The universe is changing all the time. And there'll be some, like I said, logarithmic happening, right now, especially on the humans. If we might not get our act together pretty soon and get rid of the trash that's on the planet, we're due. And I see this, and the dark horse people think that everybody, it's just like being looking at people, okay, a good example is, what's that? The one that is known as John of God. There's so many Johns of God in the world. And same with scientists, same with politics, especially politicians. And I work with all different, and it's best to learn. There's one thing that they talk. Back in the old days, they used to have railroad crosses. I asked people, I said, what did they have on the sign over there on the railroad crossing before they had this ding, 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 ding stuff, you know? The sign said, stop, look, and listen. People don't know how to listen. I mean, that is so terrible. And I pull tricks on them on padding of orbit. And you'll be talking about something else. They have absolutely no idea what you're telling them because they don't listen. They're not always listen, especially to yourself. Thank you.